It was a clear black night, a clear white moon. Warren G was on the streets trying to consume some skirts for the eve, so I could get some phones rolling in my ride, chilling all alone.
Just hit the east side of the LBC on a mission trying to find Mr. Warren G. Seen a car full of girls, ain't no need to tweak. All of you skirts know what's up with 213. So
I told you I would do it, JJ.
Heck yeah, man. Greatest song of all time.
It is a very good song.
Yeah.
I told you I would do it. Listen, this is the daily fantasy NFL show. Can I say NFL? Presented by FantasyElite, the app that you get in the App Store. We'll be doing a little bit of some live drafting, but we have a newbie on the show today. And his name is JJ Zacharias, and you might know him as Late Round QB. It's a guy I've been following for a while. Like, I've followed him before Leone and Davis. Like, I really thought that he was going to be the next big thing. So I
followed JJ before I was even a part of fantasy Twitter. Like, when I still had to like ask start sit questions, I used to follow JJ.
I followed JJ like way before you did. Like, I defended his honor to Matthew Berry.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. That was the thing.
That was crazy, dude.
It was crazy.
What happened?
That was heated. That was really heated. It was just a late round QB debate. It was
that was when Mike Vick was going first.
2011 season, man. That 2011 season when everyone was like, you got to get elite quarterbacks early. That's whenever I published the book, and then someone like tagged me in a post, and Barry and I just kind of went at it for. It was like probably like 3 hours long on Twitter.
That's pretty long.
I've been going about an hour and a half with this one guy in my mentions who keeps wanting to tell me that Andrew Luck is better than Russell Wilson.
Dude, that was all my fault. I'm sorry for bringing that up.
I tweeted literally word for word the same thing as you the other day.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well,
nice.
Cool story, bro. Like, glad you're being productive instead of... Davis, you look like you're 12 again. I don't know what happened, if it's the lighting... Or the
it might be the lighting. It might be the oversized jersey.
I think it's the oversized jersey.
You're wearing daddy's jersey.
You're wearing Automatic's jersey.
But my dad tweeted at some of the Insiders guys. I didn't even know he had Twitter, but he found my DFS column, and is playing on DraftKings apparently. I got him a DraftKings account for his birthday like 2 years ago, and all he's ever done is play like golf GPPs. But I guess he's trying to get into that NFL life.
Is your dad watching the show right now?
Nah, he's definitely at work.
Okay. Can I read a tweet that he made 62 days ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's just old. Like, all of his tweets are old man tweets that like don't understand how Twitter works.
This is a actual tweet. It wasn't a reply or a mention to anybody. His Twitter says, "I don't know who you are, but you have been texting me all day." And I would appreciate it if you stop, please. Thank you. Like, that went out to all of Twitter.
Old man, I mean, he's got to be. I mean, I don't know exactly how old he is. He's 50-something.
I thought he was in his 30s.
Hilarious, JJ.
All right. Well, I do have Mike5754 who's going to be in the chat. If you have any questions about the elite slates, these games are perfect for the short slates. So we'll be doing a little bit of live drafting, and you can go to your dashboard. Davis, do you know your password yet? That's a question.
I can draft on my phone.
Okay, yeah, you can draft on your phone because you don't know your password still.
No, I think I changed my. I have had to have Grant change it for me twice. I was just on the phone with Grant the other day. I should have made sure that I had it.
Yeah.
Then, but I didn't.
You should have. There is also the bracket blast off, and JJ, you're gonna be in that.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Like, this is like your first big high stakes tourney, right?
Yeah, I'm ready to do some work, dude. Ready to work it.
JJ's crazy, man. He plays like I remember in NBA season he would just want to test out the number fire product, and he'd DM me and he'd be like, "Dude, Blake Griffin is killing it for me in this $5 double up right now."
Secretly.
Just secretly.
Football's a different beast for me. Like hoops and I got into baseball a little bit this season, but football's a different beast. I'll throw down.
No, I tease you, but you actually do play, and like I think it's a really interesting thing when seasonal guys come into daily fantasy, because some seasonal guys don't get it. They make incorrect assumptions, but because your analysis has always focused on opportunity cost and the market rather than just looking at specific player projections, I think you've made a pretty seamless transition.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's different. I think it's different, like seasonal guys that like they don't claim to know everything about DFS. It's like it's bad when you've got seasonal guys that just immediately jump into DFS and think that the fantasy for season long implications like immediately translates to
Right.
DFS knowledge. And there's just a lot to it. Just like there's a lot of knowledge about like drafting, like a DFS guy. Like if you put Davis in a season long baseball draft, he would suck. I mean, he would.
No, I wouldn't. I know about
Yeah,
Roto.
you would.
I've been playing Roto
Davis.
baseball since I was a pup.
Oh, okay, Davis.
I want to get in that league.
Yeah, seriously, free money. So it's just a different it's just a different bird, and so that's why like JJ like he was tuned into all of our basketball shows.
I'm always watching
Yeah, man, and
baseball, especially.
we also have Evan Silva on tomorrow, and like Evan told me, he's like, listen, Evan plays like daily fantasy every day, but he's no expert. He's like, listen, as far as like lineup construction goes, like I'm not going to be able to give you a whole lot. I said that's okay. Like you just want, like we want people that know their stuff. Like we'll translate that into plays. As far as like
Evan gave me a hot fire nugget for daily fantasy that I should have included in my article, but I didn't. When we get to talking about quarterbacks, by the way, something that I didn't come across in my research.
a hot fire nugget.
A hot fire nugget.
Is that a thing?
Yes. When I reveal it, when the reveal happens, you'll understand why.
Okay. All right. Initial thoughts about tonight. Like, are you playing anybody? Like, we kind of talked about this. We touched on it yesterday. Like, are you playing anybody like outside of the elite drafts?
Total fade.
No, I'm pretty much entering to fade this game.
Yeah, I do have a lineup with a Russell Wilson, Doug Baldwin stack just to see what happens, but
Yes.
that's about it.
So that's like if you want some action, if you're like wanting some sort of action on tonight's game, like they did us no favors as far as the fantasy world goes. Putting someone against Seattle in the opening night, it's like that kind of sucks. But I'm gonna have like basically GPP teams with both guys, and I think a lot of people will like in their main line just because they're wanting some sort of action there. So I'm definitely anxious to see kind of what those Thursday lineups look like. So
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch will be the most overowned player of the whole weekend.
yeah, like as far as Marshawn Lynch goes, I don't know. Is he going to be like that? You think he's going to be that bad
Terrible
tonight?
play.
No, he's not a terrible play, but he's not in the same category as Forte, Charles, or McCoy. And so if
No,
you're using your
definitely.
dollars to construct a lineup that way, well, in GPPs I can understand it because
Yeah,
whatever.
that's what I'm. He's fine. I mean, he's probably the guy I'd be most likely to use in a tournament.
Yeah, he's like plus 150 to score a touchdown or minus whatever one is less likely. It's been
Plus 150
Plus
is less
150.
likely.
okay. All right. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know why that just happened. I doubted myself for a second there, and I shouldn't have. And then his Vegas prop bet for yardage is 81. So like both of those are like decent lines. But he's not as active in the passing game as other running backs around his price tag, and he's just not in the same category of a play as Charles or McCoy. So using Lynch in your cash game lineups for Thursday through Saturday, if you're not doing it as an attempt at diversification, just sort of strikes me as silly. Would both of you
Yeah, I
agree?
wouldn't have him in any cash games.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I'm not even going to end up with him in any tournaments either. I'm only doing a couple of Thursday locks. Most of my stuff is Sunday only.
Mm-hmm.
So Forte, McCoy, or Charles? I think I know your answer, Leone.
Yeah, I'm also with my.
Yeah, it's all day JC.
Okay. Talk about
So much usage.
basically the Dwayne Bowe being away in a 1-game suspension, what that means for JC's uptick in production, JJ.
Travis Kelce, baby.
Oh gosh, is he?
Yep.
I mean, is this going to be a real thing? Like,
Yeah,
No,
it's a real thing.
dude. It's a real thing. I mean, like basically, you're looking at Donnie Avery as the number 1 wide receiver, and he's pretty trash. Great analysis. But last year, their top 2, they only had 2 guys that were targeted 100 or more times, which was Jamal Charles and Dwayne Bowe. So and the other guy, the guy who was in 3rd in targets, was Dexter McCluster, and he's in Tennessee now. Travis Kelce's going to have a place in that lineup, and the way that I kind of approach the tight end position is a go big or go home strategy, essentially, with you go Graham or you go minimum, and Kelce's minimum across the industry. So I'm in on him. I think there's a lot of upside there, and if it doesn't pan out, the turnover at tight end week to week, I mean, there's going to be other tight ends that you're paying up for that might not pan out as well, other than like a Julius or a Jimmy Graham. So I'm all in with Kelce this week.
Davis, you are also on the Kelce train, I know. Like, my question is, Ertz or Kelce?
I mean, I'd probably go Ertz and FanDuel cash.
I knew that Leone would say Ertz. So here's the thing
But
with
I
Ertz.
think it's close though.
It is
Of
close,
course it's
but-
close, Leone. Come on.
But let me just. I think that maybe we haven't. I feel like maybe there's a misconception about the Philadelphia offense that, like, first of all, Brent Selleck's going to play.
Yes.
That is non-negotiable. He's an excellent run blocker. That offense runs 2/3 of the time, so that automatically earns Selleck playing time. And then second, even outside of Deshaun Jackson's ridiculous market share last year, that offense spread the ball around a ton. And if you look at Chip Kelly's offensive coaching philosophy back to college, I mean, he loved doing crap like having fullbacks catch receiving touchdowns, and he loves to spread the ball around like that. And I feel honestly like a lot of Deshaun Jackson's high usage rates last year were as a result of Macklin's injury, and I feel like with the drafting of Jordan Matthews, another year of development of Riley Cooper in Chip Kelly's system, I feel like week to week these guys are almost going to be unusable for daily fantasy.
So, are you guys concerned at all with Kelsey's playing time on the field, just snap data in general?
I think there's legitimate concern just as much with Kelce and Fasano as there is with Brent Selleck and Zach Ertz. And the same goes for Ladarius Green and Antonio Gates. If you're looking for those high upside plays, you have those exact same concerns. The other thing with Kelce, too, that not enough people are talking about is that Andy Reid, last year, they didn't use a tight end because they didn't really have one because Kelce was hurt. But Andy Reid historically has used his tight ends in his offenses. You had Chad Lewis, you had L.J. Smith, you had Brent Selleck back in the McNabb days. So I think that there's legitimate opportunity here, not just because Kelce is a freak of nature athlete, not only because Alex Smith is a dink and dunk quarterback, but because Andy Reid likes to use tight ends as well. And there's no one else there.
Yeah, so basically you guys are saying similar risk, more upside.
Well, and if you want to extend the argument further, like 35% of Alex Smith's career touchdown passes have gone to tight ends or H-backs.
Right.
Like it's in like, if we're gonna be honest, it's in his arm strength to hit those guys for touchdowns. Like he's
Did I
not
lose
going.
you guys?
What?
No, stop interrupting, Leone.
Yeah. Well, and also, so JJ was talking about how like there weren't any fantasy options in Kansas City last year at the position. But if you look at the snaps played, Anthony Fasano, Anthony Sherman, and Sean McGrath were all in the top 40 of snaps played at the tight end position. So they run 12 personnel a lot because their best personnel grouping has 2 tight ends on the field. So even if Fasano plays every snap of the game, that doesn't mean I'm not convinced that Travis Kelce doesn't play 2/3 of the snaps. And similar to Ladarius Green, all he really needs is 4 or 5 targets to pay off, because what the Titans' problem is that all of their linebackers are good in rush defense, but they're all really bad in pass coverage because they're all older and slower. So I'm all
I
about
like how
Travis Kelce.
we got here off a question about Jamal Charles.
No, I mean it was like the usage, like, and basically everyone thinks that Charles is going to be. I mean, Charles is going to be the guy that everyone owns. Like, I mean, he makes one less roster spot available. It'll be like interesting to see if anyone.
I don't know. I've seen some people who aren't using him as much as you would think, but
Yeah, idiots.
Well, okay, so the thing on Charles is that with Dwayne Bowe suspended, 18% of the market share of receptions for the Chiefs is gone. You take McCluster into that equation, and you take McGrath out of that equation, and like 40% of the Chiefs' receptions from last year are just gone. And not that I'm expecting a uniform distribution, but the Chiefs are only favored by 4 points in this game, so they will need to do some scoring. They're gonna have to move the ball on offense. They're gonna have to produce some points, and in order to win a game, you get the ball to your best player. And with Bo out, Charles and Kelsey are the only playmakers that team has. Like Donnie Avery's not that guy. It's just not happening. So
Right.
I think it's clearly Charles over McCoy for me. I know that you feel maybe a little bit differently about that, Michael, or no?
No, I think it's clearly Charles. I like McCoy probably more than you do, but I still think the gap's huge. I just think Charles, I mean, he could get you 20 points without scoring, which is pretty
Correct.
crazy.
Yeah.
I like McCoy just if you're playing like matchups. I mean, bad run defense for Jacksonville last year, high total game, big favorites. It just seems like a good game for usage and touchdown probability. So I'm fine with using him on a looser pricing site like FanDuel. I actually think you could play both in a cash game with all the cheap receiving options, especially if you're dipping into Kelsey at tight end.
Well, yeah, if you fade Jimmy Graham, I think the preferable route actually is to go McCoy and Charles.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at as far as. I think though that I'm not going to fade Jimmy Graham. I mean, we're talking about Ertz and we're talking about Kelsey. And it just seems like there's a lot of question marks there. Whereas you know what you're getting with Graham, a healthy Graham.
Yeah, and to that point, there's so many good buys at wide receiver and running back this week that it's pretty easy to slot Graham in your lineup. Like it's really not a difficult thing to do. So I think to me, like I'm cool. Like I'm basically going Graham or Kelsey this week, but more so going Graham just because it's a very, very solid buy.
Yeah, I think FanDuel cash, it's Graham, but on DraftKings,
Julius Thomas is up there.
Julius Thomas on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Julius Thomas, and I don't know, I like Gates.
Oh my gosh, Michael!
If you give me Gates at the same price,
JJ will totally be on board with you here, and
Team
it's such a donk play. So
No,
I don't think it is.
Team
But
Gates.
this is
Arizona's got good corners, a good run defense, and they have to be attacked somehow.
Oh, well, we've got Larry Fitzgerald that was touted yesterday. Why not Antonio Gates today?
Arizona let up 3.5 more standard fantasy points to tight ends than any other team in the league last year. They're not any stronger defensively this year. Daryl Washington's still not there. Antonio Gates is the de facto red zone target in that offense. I know that you're a Ladarius Green fanboy, Davis.
he's not the de facto red zone.
He is.
No.
He is. And
Keenan Allen is the de facto red zone option in that offense.
Obviously Ladarius Green can catch 3 passes and outscore Antonio Gates, but if you're looking for at least like a safe floor option with a decent ceiling, I think Antonio Gates is your guy.
Lions fan 22 just summed up my thoughts exactly. Antonio Gates is such an unsexy play.
Hey, you don't need 9 sexy plays to win.
Well, yeah, Leone, but if you play Antonio Gates, it's like what we say, you have intercourse with your clothes on. So,
Well, I'm having a lot of intercourse with my clothes on DraftKings then.
It's such a Leone play. Like
Yeah,
it's honestly like the least surprising thing ever.
I love it.
Here's the thing that you guys are making a couple assumptions in Antonio Gates. One, you're assuming that we saw everything that the Chargers offense plans to give us in the 3rd preseason game, which was Gates playing more than Green. And I don't think that's what happens. I think that
I don't think long run, but short term, I'd be surprised if Green was on the field more than Gates and ran more routes than Gates.
But when the games mattered, when the games mattered in December and in the playoffs, Green played more than Gates. Because and so I think that if this game is close, which Vegas projects it to be, and I think all three of us are pretty bullish on parts of the Arizona passing game, both as a whole and for Week 1, I think we're assuming that San Diego is going to need to score some points. Let me be clear. I'm not saying Ladarius Green is a safe play either. I wouldn't use him for cash games either. But I think that the tremendous lack of upside that Gates offers means that he's not a cash game option because you don't want to give yourself a ceiling in cash games.
But it's Arizona. That's the key. It's not the fact that he's playing in some tough defense. Like they don't know how to defend tight ends. Like this is proven.
Yeah, it was absurd last year. The range, like if you go to ESPN fantasy points against by position, like the best team to the 31st team was like 5 to 9 points, and then Arizona was at 13. Like that's an absurd outlier. Like, and even if it's not exactly the same this year, like JJ said, there's not a bunch of changes where we should expect a huge difference in how teams are going to attack them. And a lot of it was volume based. I mean, if you go look at Football Outsiders DVOA by position, they weren't awful. You know, they were like 20th against tight ends, but it's volume. They gave up the most targets, the most yards, because that's how teams are attacking them. And I think Gates, you know, he can easily score 1 or 2. I don't think you're accepting a low ceiling. Maybe it's not a Kelsey ceiling, but you give me a higher floor than Kelsey and Ertz and a decent ceiling for 400 over the minimum price tag, and then I'll throw Demaryius Thomas in my lineup instead of Jimmy Graham. I'm okay with that.
I mean, I have Demaryius and Jimmy and Charles in all my lineups though. So,
Yeah.
which I think for the first week of the season is the way to go. I think that we need to admit something right now. A lot of what we're going to say on this show and a lot of what all of us wrote this week, no clue. We have very little ideas to how some of these offenses are going to work.
Yeah.
We have a lot of historical clues that we can use. But for week 1, I think the way to go is just ultimate chalk. And just limit your downside as much as possible. I know, for example, last year I had a terrible week 1 because I had David Wilson in all of my lineups.
Yeah.
Yeah, and back to the Gates thing real quick. I'm saying DK.
Oh, great.
I'm not talking
more Gates
FanDuel.
hot takes.
Huh?
No, go ahead. More Gates hot takes. I want to hear more.
No, I'm just saying I'm not talking FanDuel, you know, where he's 5,700. Like, I'm taking Kelsey over him all day long there. But just DK. But I agree with you going chalk in most of the places. I don't have those 3 all in every lineup because I think I'm spending more on a second running back than you are.
Yeah, so let's do that because I'll say right now my second running back sort of that I've honed in on across the board are, you know, a combination of Ben Tate, Fred Jackson, a little bit of Andre Ellington in there, and then maybe some lineups going with a combination of Charles and McCoy. Who are some second running backs that you like, JJ?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat with you, especially with Fred Jackson. It's amazing how there's such a separation in cost between him and Spiller when, if you're looking at, like, I think the problem is that people look at upside with running backs and daily, and they're looking at big play guys, but you really should be looking at touchdowns. And Fred Jackson is going to be the guy that's going to score touchdowns for that team. It's just going to happen. And not only that, but that game could get out of hand, and Fred Jackson's going to be on the field if it gets out of hand. It's not going to be CJ Spiller. So I like FJax on both DK and FanDuel. He's got a pretty good price tag. You and I were talking about Ben Tate a little bit earlier, Davis. I think the Steelers' front seven is pretty terrible. The defensive line's really bad. I think that he could gash them. The Browns' defense is strong enough to keep them in the game, and then he's also now the de facto third down back because they don't have any pass catchers. So, like you said,
they cut the other 2 running backs on the roster who could catch passes.
Right, Chris Ogbonnaya was probably the bigger one just because he caught a lot of passes last year. He caught, what did he have, like 35 or 40 passes or catches, I think. But without him there, Ben Tate is really, just to be clear, Ben Tate's really, really inefficient at catching the football. Like, he's not a good pass catcher.
Yeah.
But if DraftKings especially, you get a full point. I'm cool with Ben Tate just on volume, and he could get in the end zone.
What about Bernard?
See, that's like taking a worse running back against a better defense. And
Right.
But to be clear, a lot of people are going to be on Bernard Pierce this week.
His
I
price
think.
tag though, like you've got to go a semi cheap if on your second running back. Like
Yeah, I don't like the matchup at all, to be honest. Like that game just that could be tough for them to run the football. The Bengals defensive line's pretty strong. And I need to see something from the Ravens offense, from that offensive line for me to really trust anyone in that backfield.
So you're saying you're going
that's the
D'Angelo then.
Yeah, Baltimore's offensive line is really bad, whereas Cleveland's they were in the top 10 of almost every single metric that Football Outsiders uses to keep track of offensive line performance last year.
Yeah,
and
they were decent running the ball.
Yeah, and and that was, by the way, that was with Willis McGahee as their lead back. that they were able to accumulate those numbers. So, I mean, just think about the difference in efficiency going from who was Willis McGahee on a per touch basis was the least efficient running back in the NFL last year. Ben Tate, even if he's bad, even if he's not as good as we think he is still going to be better than that.
Absolutes from
Automatic absolutes.
As far as the D'Angelo Williams situation, does the Cam Newton situation affect that at all if he's not playing? He's only like 5,900 on FanDuel.
I'll let Leone tackle that.
Yeah.
I don't. That's just a situation I'm not even bothering to touch. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. If Newton's out, it could be just an ugly offensive day for the Panthers. I'm not really looking at that one at all. I like Fred Jackson, like JJ does. To piggyback on what JJ kind of said, I think no matter how that game goes, he's going to be used. If they keep it close, they're going to run a ton. If they get behind, check downs from EJ all second half. So I think that's a really safe, cheaper play. But I'm also throwing some love to Monty Ball. I mean, I don't think Denver's going to throw as much as they did last year in the red zone or in the second half. Highest total game, 7.5-point favorites. Tough not to like him. I can see, and again, I'm spending expensive on FanDuel, so if you don't want to go quite crazy and go McCoy and Charles, you can go Charles and Monty, not too difficultly.
So you've got in that little tier Ball, Bernard, Bell, and Martin. And
I'd also say kind of right below that is Frank Gore as well. I think he's in
so that's what I was going to ask.
Someone just mentioned him in the chat, and I know he doesn't catch passes, and it's full PPR on DraftKings, but that 5,200 price tag is just screaming at me on DK.
Yeah, I agree. He's a pretty safe option against Dave.
A guy that a lot of people will be using, though, 6,800, Andre Ellington on FanDuel as your second running back. I mean, he's one of those guys that we talked about yesterday. You've got preseason hype for like season long, and sometimes that translates over into people playing him in daily fantasy and basically disregarding the whole matchup, just knowing that he's now in round 2 or round 3 in your season long draft. So why wouldn't you play him at 6,800? So no one is like that excited over using Andre Ellington is what it sounds like.
Correct. I have some of him.
Yeah, I think it's more so just that there's some screaming values elsewhere. Like, he's not a bad play this week, but there's, like we said, Gore, Fred Jackson. I'm not even, in a tournament play, I'm not even against really using a guy like Stephen Ridley, who's pretty cheap on DraftKings right now, just because he has that touchdown upside. He's not going to catch passes either, but Patriots could get up in that game, and he could get a couple scores. It's very possible.
Oh, Patriots.
Risky, too, because we have no idea how they're going to handle that.
Yeah, I like that a lot as a low-owned tournament play. Another guy I like because I think he's overpriced and he's a bad guy in seasonal leagues, but Arian Foster I could see as a tournament play that people won't be on that has, multiple TD upside.
Yeah. Patriots running back in week 1 just is not...
It's risky.
It does not excite me.
I think Ridley is just such a good tournament option. I think he's an amazing tournament option.
I mean, you say that now, and then the second series of the game, he fumbles. And
I don't think we're saying to, load your team. We don't want you to have a lot of exposure to him, but throw him on a team, you get a random 2-touchdown game for cheap. That's not...
Well, here's a couple things about Ridley. So if you just look at what he's done historically in his career, he's a ton better when Gronkowski plays because that impacts how good the Patriots' offense is, how well they're able to gain first downs, and also Gronkowski is one of the best run blockers at the tight end position in the NFL. And then if you also look at games historically where the Patriots have been favored by several points, he's also done very well in his career because they use him to salt the game away and not Vereen. I know James White and Brandon Bolden got a ton of hype this preseason. Well, more so James White, which is, he was a career timeshare back in college, and I don't expect him to be anything more than that in the NFL. So I think Ridley actually... I mean, you don't have to because pricing is so loose right now that there are other guys who are better values for cash games. But if he was at some absurd price on any of the sites, I would use him. I'm not as concerned about his usage as other people in the fantasy community are, I think.
Yeah. I would think that Vereen would be a better upside play on DraftKings.
Yeah, what's his cost though?
Yeah, I mean
It's
the
in the
thing with
sixes, I think.
61.
Because if you're talking about upside play, like you want the guys that are going to catch the ball. You've got an additional flex spot there. So I think that if we're talking about tournament plays, I would want him. Davis, I just challenged you in the Fantasy Elite Challenge. Like, it's a pretty fun slate. You've got the KC game. So that obviously tonight's game, the Jacksonville Philly game, and then the Buffalo Chicago game. Buffalo's gonna get oh my gosh, they're gonna get destroyed. They're so terrible. Their
It's gonna be
fans,
awesome.
their fans
I
are
hate
too.
you guys.
Hey, Sammy Watkins though.
Sammy
This is-
Watkins,
I was
though.
telling Drew this is like the most pessimistic I've ever been as a Bills fan.
That's
Dude,
saying
you
something.
You have
My
neck
history.
beard, bro. You have neck beard, so it's all gonna be okay.
Hey, we might be seeing 3-hat Mike Sunday afternoon.
Oh my God.
Mike.
It's one of those things where I'm so disappointed in Marone as a coach, and then you throw in that I don't think EJ is going to be good, and you gave up 2 top 10 picks for a receiver when you're going to need that first round pick next year, and it looks
for
it
the
looks
fourth
bleak
best wide
for
receiver in the
multiple
class.
years, which is why I'm
Yeah.
pessimistic.
How
That would be
hilarious is it that 2 of the worst wide receivers, like that in the draftable grades of the class, went top 10? Like Odell Beckham's not going to see the field ever, and Sammy Watkins is going to be chasing ducks from EJ Manuel for the first 6 weeks of the season before he gets benched.
It's true.
All right.
I just
Uh,
It's
speak-
hilarious.
Speaking of quarterbacks, who are some quarterbacks that you like? I mean, obviously the names that we've thrown out or that have been thrown out there: Peyton Manning, Jay Cutler is a very, very popular one. Foles is one that not a lot of people are. I don't feel like I've seen that much hype around Foles for Week 1 for some reason. Maybe I'm wrong there. Have you guys, like, wherever you're looking for daily fantasy stuff, like, have you seen any Foles hype?
No, I think everyone's kind of like it's a good option, but it's going to be a blowout, and there's just so many options week 1. That's kind of how I'm at. Like, I'll throw him in a tournament in case he has, a crazy first half or something, but
Do
I don't see him
blowouts
throwing.
matter to Chip Kelly, though, in Week 1?
I mean, that's definitely a good point, but I
That's
still
a great point.
probably am going to shy away from a 10.5 point favorite with a high price quarterback.
and
Just in cash. I mean, throw him in
in
a tournament,
cash,
but
yeah.
I on FanDuel, Carson Palmer is an amazing value.
mhm.
I love Carson Palmer this week. San Diego's secondaries, I mean, it improved throughout the second half of last year, but Carson Palmer also did. Some of the metrics we use in Number Fire, he started the season only worse than Blaine Gabbert. The first half of the season, he was only worse than Blaine Gabbert, Josh Freeman, and Geno Smith, and he finished the season as a top 5 quarterback. Like the second half of the season, he played like a top 5 quarterback. The matchup's amazing. And his price, he's only $6,900 on FanDuel this week. So
The price is silly on FanDuel.
it's ridiculous. It's not nearly as favorable on DraftKings, but it's amazing on FanDuel.
Yeah, right now, like in my cash games, I was looking at splitting quarterbacks, and I was looking at Palmer and Kaepernick.
Yeah.
If you look at the RotoViz, the GLSP projections, like Kaepernick's got a crazy. His median in 4-point pass and touchdown formats is 22, and I like him a lot with the way he runs and just how bad that everyone expects that Dallas defense to be again.
Here's the thing. Here's the only thing I will say to you about the Kaepernick thing. You guys better hope Romo's right. You better hope Romo comes out and is throwing darts, because if that offense sputters for like 4 series, game's going to be 21. It's going to be 21-6.
Yeah,
If that-
the San Francisco
That
defense
San Fran D is they're so banged up.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I understand, but I am telling you, with how bad the Dallas defense is, we're gonna see it really early on. This Dallas defense is atrocious, and we're gonna have a scenario, and there will be games this year where they are down 21-0 at the end of the first quarter, and the other team just spends the rest of the entire game, with 8-minute drives with 16 plays, because Dallas can't stop them. They truly cannot stop what the other team is going to be doing.
Kaepernick has pretty severe splits though with top and bottom half defenses too, which is I mean,
Well,
like there's a lot going in Kaepernick's favor this week to warrant playing him for sure.
And that would make sense because he's sort of a 1 to 2 read passer still.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Leone.
I'm trying to find it. Yeah, so I had him in very favorable matchups the last 2 seasons, averaging 23 fantasy points per game with a minimum of 21.88, by the way. I mean, I broke it down using a combination of Football Outsiders, DVOA, and fantasy points against, but, I mean, no game less than 21 points per game. I'd have to look at the study to see how many games that was, but I think it was over 5.
Yeah. I like him.
Yeah.
I just
drafted... Crabtree's going to play, too. Sounds like.
Is he going to play?
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
If he doesn't play, thoughts on VD at tight end?
I'd look at Bolden, though, too. I mean, VD's great. He's going to score touchdowns, but I'd look at Bolden as well.
If you look at Vernon Davis in the Game Splits app on RotoViz with and without Crabtree, it's nuts. A lot of that was with Alex Smith, obviously, at the helm. But I think an important note is that I would still prefer Julius Thomas to Vernon Davis, even in that scenario. So, whatever. The note I did want to drop that hot take nugget that Silva gave me was related to Cutler. Due to some injuries and some stuff that Buffalo is shifting around, their nickel corner, who's obviously going to have to play a lot against Chicago because they use 3 wide receiver sets, is 5'7" and has 34-inch arms. And on third down, Brandon Marshall plays in the slot. So I would put the average success ratio.
Not going to be on him in the slot.
That's the way their base defense is set up. That's the way. What? Tell me, Mr. Buffalo.
I think Gilmore will be on him in the slot. I don't think they'll. I don't know. I could be wrong, but
Gilmore. I thought Gilmore just played one side though. He doesn't. I mean, and
they've used him in unique ways previously. Like I think they used him on Gronk last year. Like, I mean, I would be surprised if Gilmore if they let that guy cover him in the slot. But I still like Cutler. But
It's also worth noting, by the way, that Leone's homerism aside, Gilmore, other than his rookie year, has been bad. Like if you go look at his PFF grades and pass coverage, preseason, regular season, slot, outside, doesn't matter. He's been bad. Leotis McKelvin, on the other hand, has been really good, but that's it.
The thing with Leotis though is, and maybe this is me watching too much and I have some bias with it, but he can't play the ball in the air, and these are 2 receivers that obviously are going to win jump balls a lot. So that, as a Bills fan, scares the hell out of me. Like,
I'm not worried about I think their front 7, even without Kiko Alonso, is pretty good. So it's actually going to discourage Chicago from running the ball, and it's going to encourage them to pass the ball more because their success rates are going to be higher, especially because, Buffalo just lost their best defensive player in Alonso and their second best player in Jerry's Bird to free agency. So I think they're going to be easily exploitable down the field.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Pettin's gone too. That's pretty huge. He's a monster coordinator. I mean, him being gone is a bigger deal than I think a lot of people realize.
Yeah. So what we're telling you is all of the Cutlers.
Yeah.
I started off like lukewarm on Cutler, and now, like I said, my initial read on FanDuel was Palmer, Kaepernick, and I might actually, there's been so many values week 1, I might diversify more than I usually would and split 3 main teams between those 3 quarterbacks.
You're gonna diversify? I
am going to diversify.
Is that how they say it in Buffalo? Diversify?
Ask Leone. Everything in Buffalo is an errand. His life, in the greatest thing Michael Leone has ever said to me, he was just complaining to me on GChat, and I said, "All right, Mike, I'm good. I gotta go run some errands." And he said, "Davis, my life is an errand."
I think there was another word in there too, but
I'm trying to keep it children friendly.
Yeah,
here.
like I feel like you've done a really good job since you came on like last year. It's like, that was brutal. It was brutal.
Well, see, on my podcast that I did with Coleman Kelly, I didn't care.
Yeah,
it was my thing, so I got to do whatever I want. But now it's
also people don't realize it gets hot in Buffalo, but a lot of people don't have air conditioning because, it's Buffalo because it's not hot for a long time. And
What a miserable
I am
place to
sweating
live.
like crazy right now.
So I've drafted in this draft. I took Justin Hunter first just because I knew that Davis would want him. At 8K, I also took Fred Jackson, Toby Gerhart, Chad Henne, so I'm getting the Jacksonville love there. Sankey at only 5K. I wouldn't play him anywhere else, but on Elite for minimum salary, 5K. He's the new running back 2. They might give him some love there. And then Foles and Marshall. I feel like I've been on my lineup so far. I've been way higher on Marshall than Jeffrey. Is that
Well, yeah, that's because the target ratio between Cutler and Marshall and Alsh, it's hilarious. Like, dude, he just doesn't care. He just gets B. Marsh the ball.
And that's what Gindy was talking about yesterday, as far as when Cutler just is like tunnel vision on Marshall. I just don't like. We were talking about earlier pairing. A lot of times we like to pair a wide receiver with our quarterback. It could backfire completely if you do that.
Well, with Cutler, it's just tilting. I don't recommend it with Cutler.
Right. So, and also, I guess Cutler and Foles would be two guys that I'd be okay with rolling out there without pairing a wide receiver with them.
Yeah. So are we going to can we have the great Manny Sanders debate? Can we do this?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, first of all, let me just lay out the argument for Manny Sanders before I just destroy it.
Oh my.
No, that's not fair. You can you throw out why you don't play Manny, and I'll throw out why you.
No.
do.
It's much more fun. It's much more fun when I
him.
systematically destroy every single tenet of the Manny Sanders.
Then let JJ go first.
JJ can go first.
Yeah, you're playing Manny Sanders because he's going to get he's going to take over. If he plays in the slot, that is massive for Emmanuel Sanders. He's undersized. The reason he was so inefficient in Pittsburgh is because because that's basically where he did play, because Antonio Brown could go in the slot as well. When he played on the outside, he's undersized. The corners can just destroy him. So whenever they ran bubble screens and such, he couldn't do anything because he was so little. You move him to the slot, that's huge from a perspective. Last year, Wes Welker had 10 targets within the 5-yard line, which was second most in the NFL. Let's not pretend that because Emmanuel Sanders is small that he can't score. I know that you hate that, Davis, but it's just not. It's a different case in a Peyton Manning-led offense. If Manny Sanders does indeed move to the slot role, he's going to be huge. I mean, he's going to be crazy. And not only that, but last year, if you look at the numbers that Denver put up against Indianapolis, both Welker and Decker put up 15 receptions combined. I mean, they're going to eat against this defense. If you don't play Emmanuel Sanders' price tag, I don't. I mean, obviously everyone's going to play him, but I think it's a strong play this week.
Oh gosh, JJ's using logic. Davis is about to explode.
So that is the logic, though. The logic is that if Manny Sanders has a huge game and you don't have him, you're screwed, right? Because he's going to be such a popular play because Welker is out, because Decker is gone, that if you don't have Manny Sanders, your teams are sunk. So here are a couple things against that. So JJ's postulation is that the reason that Manny Sanders was inefficient last year was because he was forced to play on the outside. My postulation for why he was inefficient...
Todd Haley, too.
Todd Haley as well. But mine would mostly be that he's just not good. If you look back at Manny Sanders' history, in college, he averaged 9.5 yards per target. His best season in terms of converting red zone looks into touchdowns was his freshman season, when he only had 57 total targets. He's never had a 100-yard game in the NFL.
True.
And I think something that we're missing in this conversation is, Peyton Manning can make anyone into a superstar, obviously, because he's Peyton Manning. He played with a really good quarterback in Pittsburgh. People really underrate Ben Roethlisberger and his influence on wide receivers. For example, I don't think Antonio Brown is that good, but because Ben Roethlisberger is such a good quarterback, he's able to put Antonio Brown in advantageous situations. If you look at Peyton's career adjusted yards per attempt at receivers he's targeted, it's at 11.8 adjusted yards per attempt to Demaryius Thomas, 9.62 to Decker, 8.98 or 8.96 to Marvin Harrison, and a little bit lower than that to Reggie Wayne and Dallas Clark. So what that's telling me is a couple things. One, Demaryius Thomas is the way to attack the Wes Welker suspension because he's so far head and shoulders above any other player that Peyton Manning has ever played with. And when Peyton Manning is in a foxhole, Demaryius Thomas is who he's going to go to. Secondly, it also tells me that just like every other quarterback ever, Peyton Manning has greater success creating points by throwing at wide receivers who fit a customary size speed profile, which Manny Sanders does not fit. So what all of this means is that everyone is overrating Manny Sanders the same way they overrated Wes Welker last year. Welker scored 10 touchdowns for the first time in his career, but he was overrated every step of the way.
But the red zone targets were there all season long.
Right.
It's not like he had a weird red zone convert. I mean, the targets. He was top 5 in red zone targets for receivers.
Yeah,
I'll look it up right now.
From the 5-yard line, he was second in the league. He had 10 red zone targets. Not only that, but Eric Decker had 9, and Eric Decker is gone as well. So it's not. Let's not just assume that these targets are not going to Emmanuel Sanders. They're going to Emmanuel Sanders. There's no doubt.
I think that there's a
Davis, are you
non-zero
on
chance.
Latimer at all?
I am on Latimer. I don't think that you can be on him for cash games. I also don't think that Manny Sanders is a safe cash game option. I think that if you want upside in a tournament, it's Latimer because they've already came out and said, by the way, already that Latimer is going to be in on red zone packages and not Andre Caldwell.
Right.
Cecil Lammy, who works in Denver and works close to the team, has had that report. And this is coming from a guy who is a big Emmanuel Sanders fan, by the way. He's huge on Emmanuel Sanders. I urge people to be cautious with he's a bad wide receiver. There's no way around it.
You're also right now ignoring the matchup. Indianapolis is one of the worst defenses in the league.
They're not good.
Right, they're terrible. Emmanuel Sanders just needs to breathe this weekend to make up for his cost. I mean, to live up to it. It's really not going to be that difficult.
Okay, that is where we disagree, JJ. He doesn't have to breathe. On
DK.
Oh, I'm talking, really. Michael. I am talking here.
Great debut. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, as far as Manny Sanders, you're talking to the guy who last year at DK Millie played Caldwell because Davis is off now. Surprise.
Nice.
Yeah, too much logic.
Can't handle it.
Too much logic.
Not handle it.
I see both sides. I understand that. What I'm saying is that people saying that he's a no-brainer safe play, I just don't with all the options that Peyton has at his disposal, I don't think that it's going to be he's an automatic safe play just because he's the third target in that offense.
I will throw it out there that when Wes Welker didn't play last year, Caldwell averaged 3 catches a game. He wasn't very strong, and that's with Peyton Manning playing 2013 Peyton Manning. So I do think the thing that's crazy here is that I'm arguing for Emmanuel Sanders, and I hate Emmanuel Sanders. I agree with Davis from a perspective of how overrated he is, especially from a season-long perspective. But in this week, I really think that it's tough for me to not play him.
Yeah, if you're playing him, he's the safest. They're talking about in the chat. He's the safest on DraftKings for sure.
Yeah,
and you have a little bit of wiggle room for error there because you've got 3 wide receivers and a flex. So definitely there is draft day 2. You've got 2 flex spots in addition to 2 wide receiver spots. So I just don't know him being one of the 3 options on FanDuel. I think I'll probably roll him out there. What I'm saying is that you've got to assume there's a little bit of risk there with all their scoring options.
Yeah,
it's week 1. Okay.
Too, so.
Okay, hold on. Let Michael speak.
Yeah,
Michael's been wanting to speak for the last 5 minutes, so we need to.
No, I'm just saying. I think you guys both make valid points, but at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong in splitting, a controversial play like this and taking him where he's cheap on DraftKings and not playing him on FanDuel where the price is with the Crabtrees and Eric Deckers of the world.
Ooh, Eric Decker. Good
That's logical.
good segue there, and way to ride the fence there, Leone. That is, honestly, I would expect that from you.
Yeah, Eric
I'm a
Decker's a
pro.
great play this week, but everyone knows that.
But do they though?
No, I think he might go under
Yeah,
own just
I think-
because people are like, especially with a lot of new players that we're seeing on FanDuel, a lot of people I've seen tweeting that new players are picking up their games. I think there might be a lot of Geno Smith and the Jets suck.
Yeah,
How
definitely.
can you take a receiver on that team?
I mean,
Oh,
some
that's
people.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's like Davis. You have that common misconception a lot of people do. Not everyone is as smart as we are.
Yeah,
Or at least
have
as
an
smart
eight-
as you, Davis.
we have an
No
8
one's
year
as smart as
no, a
Davis.
9. We have a 9-year sample of Eric Decker scoring touchdowns at above average rate relative to the offense that he plays in. So I don't really see any. There would be no reason for that to change now that he's wearing a different uniform, because he's done it with Tebow as his quarterback, with Kyle Orton as his quarterback, with his quarterbacks at Minnesota when he was a Golden Gopher, and he's going to do it again as a Jet. And the Raiders suck.
You're not going with a Geno Decker stack though this week? You said, are you?
No, probably not. I actually think I would probably
Probably
I think Decker-
not.
I'll definitely
What?
have that in a tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean maybe, but the problem is that while I do think Geno is usable, I think that the Jets' pass run split means that taking Geno in a tournament sort of leaves your upside a little bit lower.
I think Chris Johnson. I'm going to go with a Chris Johnson, Trent Richardson combo and just get all the money. Stuff like those guys that just disappointed terribly last year are going to go off in week 1 because that's how life works. Like, there is no rhyme or reason to it. It's just how life works. All right, let's get into the draft day rapid fire.
Okay.
It's not there. It was just there. Maybe it's the rapid fire max that's not there. Okay, yeah, the max is not there. Regular rapid fire is. Kaepernick or Brady? Davis.
Cap.
JJ.
Cap.
Leone.
Oh man, I was responding to something. Who is it?
Oh my gosh.
Cap or Brady?
Yeah, we're so like
Cap.
we're in a flow, and then you kind
Cap.
of just messed it up. Yeah, I'll go Cap as well against Dallas. Charles or McCoy? We've kind of already covered that. Everyone's on Charles. Gerhardt or Chris Johnson? That's an interesting one. Davis.
Gerhardt.
JJ.
Gerhardt.
Leone.
Gerhardt.
Yeah, pretty easy there. This one, Demaryius Thomas versus Calvin Johnson. Davis.
Demarius.
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 This one, like, maybe this last question will be the one that throws us off. But yeah, I think very rarely do you have 4 guys like on the first 4 guys. Like, this is easy peasy. Now I know why they don't have the max up. Roddy White or Keenan Allen though.
That actually is hard.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take Keenan Allen.
Ooh, no, I'm going Roddy.
Roddy.
I'm going Allen as well.
Soccer Dave.
Patrick Peterson, though.
Does Patrick Peterson shadow or does he play one corner?
I think he shadows.
Okay, then I'll go Roddy White. Davis, you're an idiot.
I think I could be wrong. Someone in chat can correct me, but I'm pretty sure.
I can go check here in a second.
You did the thing, though, that we always do on the show, JJ, is like you give a confident answer even though you might not be confident.
That's called the Davis-Matic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be...
No, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure of it.
Davis, or no, not Davis. Ben gave that pep talk to Jordan. He's like, you just gotta be confident about your hot takes.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, you gotta be confident about your hot takes. And forget about logic and everything else when it comes to that. All right, guys, we have a minute left. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. We'll do like a little lightning round here. You know the rules. You can only use 3 words. Okay? Lightning round. McCoy Sanders or Ellington Demarius on FanDuel Davis?
Second, easily.
JJ.
Can you say it again?
Well, that was more than 3 words. McCoy Sanders or Ellington and Demarius?
I'll go McCoy Sanders. Was that 4? I'll McCoy Sanders.
Oh, you are Leoneing it right now. All right, Mike.
Ellington Demarius. Boom.
Yeah, I'll go Ellington Demarius. If Gino hits big, is it more likely with legs? That's from Drew. I don't know. Is he Native American now, or is that like African speak from getting back from Africa? It sounds like he's in a tribe. If Gino hits big, is it more likely with legs?
Kelsey B. Marsh. Kelani just asked.
Oh, can I ask the question first, Davis?
No.
I say yes.
I want to. Gindy has a good one.
Okay. Decker for cash, yes or no, Davis?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Agree. Let's see. You've got Alshon and Macklin or Kelsey and B. Marsh. Davis, you've already given your take. JJ?
Kelsey B. Marsh.
I think Kelsey B. Marsh.
I'd go Alshon Macklin. That thing is safer. We just don't know about Kelsey yet. Like
Macklin.
I don't know if Macklin's super safe, and I like Marshall more than Alshon.
Okay, let's talk about Macklin then. Screw the lightning round, because I want to hear your guys' takes on Macklin. Starting, JJ, you've got like something important to say. It sounds like.
No, so I'm interested in this game just because both teams want to run a lot of plays. So I think that there's going to be a lot of volume there for Macklin. He's super cheap on FanDuel. He's only like 5,000. So I'm cool with Macklin this week. I'm not like overly excited about him because of what Davis talked about earlier. They have a bunch of wide receiver twos on that team. So I'm not like playing him everywhere, but I think that he's a pretty good value on FanDuel, especially this week.
Leone, what's your take there?
He's probably not going to make my FanDuel cash lineups. Just other receivers I like more.
Okay, so here's the next question by Gindy. Justin Hunter or Macklin? This is one that I've struggled with. Davis?
I mean, I have Hunter.
Okay.
Like, I think that the upside is exponentially higher, and I don't think the floor is as low as everyone seems to think.
Now you say that, and then you get. I'm not even
He's obviously getting Tyler Croft.
I wasn't going to say Croft, but yeah, you're Croft. You're setting yourself up to get Crofted for sure. JJ, Macklin, or Hunter?
I love Hunter, but I'd probably, just because it's week one, I want to see how Hunter kind of performs. I'd go Macklin.
Yeah,
I'm with JJ.
I would go probably Macklin as well. The thing with Hunter is that it's like you're talking about the difference of one pass, like one big pass to him. If he catches it or not, like if there's pass interference or not, like there's just I don't know how many.
Because he's awesome.
I agree he's awesome. I just don't know how many targets he's going to get, and like he's got to come down with a deep ball for me to really like feel safe about him, and I just don't think he's a safe play.
I mean, people lost their minds for Keenan Allen last year, and he had a bunch of games with like 4 targets but a touchdown.
Okay.
I don't know. I liked Hunter. Like Hunter looks better in my model than Keenan Allen does, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, we just had the use of the word model on the show. I mean, we made it an hour into the show.
Well, not my like weekly projection model, like my prospect model.
Hunter or Kelsey?
I mean Hunter, but
I'd probably go Hunter. I'd probably go Hunter there.
Tate or I would go Hunter there too. Tate or Macklin, same price.
See, I think it's Macklin because the Giants have 2 solid corners now in Amukamara and DRC.
Yep, I totally agree. That Giants secondary is really underrated.
All right.
Yeah, I'll roll Macklin.
That will do it for the question and answer portion of today's show. Special thanks to Michael Leone from the Daily Fantasy Rundown there at Roto Experts, and JJ there at Number Fire. Guys, you want to give your little spill? Like, since you're on the show?
Yeah. If you go to rotoexperts.com/daily and click on the ridiculous advertisement with me and Dink looking like football players.
Oh, they've got you in football player garb now.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cute.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Who is who?
It's pretty amazing. But, we've got packages as low as $15 a month, even less if you commit to the whole season. Every week, in-depth positional analysis and site-specific cheat sheets for DraftKings and FanDuel, as well as lineup alerts emailed directly to your inbox.
Okay, I don't see any Photoshop picture of you. Are you click daily?
Oh, you know what? I think they might have, because they're splitting the football and the baseball ads right now. They might have taken that one down.
I think you're lying to me, but that's okay. JJ, what about Number Fire?
Yeah, go to numberfire.com. We got weekly, daily projections. Read the content there. That's the stuff that I run.
Very nice. And we also have, we'll be basically publishing the optimal tool, and we're going to keep on adding sites to it. But we have a monthly fee. Like if you want to get a lot of great content, we have a monthly fee of $30 a month, and you can get college football, you can get baseball, and you can get NFL, like in-depth articles like Davis's article. So if you...
God, it was so long.
What? Excuse me?
I just wrote for so long on that article.
Oh, you wrote for so long. So basically, if you haven't played, like tonight is a great, like this is a fun slate playing against Davis. Pretty sure I'm going to win because his team is pretty terrible. He took Alex Smith, Jay Cutler, McCluster. I guess he's going.
Don't even get JJ started on Alex Smith.
I do love me some he's fine this week, but I mean, I like him more season long.
Alex Smith or Dalton season long?
I'd probably still go Dalton. I'm not Smith Davis.
Davis's team is so bad. He's got Sammy Watkins, Sean Green, Marquise Lee, Jordan Matthews.
Oh, those were all auto picks. Yeah, well, not Jordan Matthews.
Oh, it's because we were on the Manny Sanders debate.
You got Sammy Watkins?
Yeah, he definitely got Sammy Watkins.
I'm dropping him right now.
Can we take a screenshot of that quickly?
Yes.
Do it, please.
Already dropped him.
Well, I still have it up, so...
Haha, Davis doesn't know how phones work.
What an idiot.
I know that the iPhone 6 comes out in a couple days, so that's going to be dope.
Yeah, it'll be the number 2 phone next to the Galaxy.
The new iPhone's coming out? I've been waiting forever to upgrade.
I believe. What do you have, like an iPhone 2?
I got the 4.
Oh my gosh. Your phone's like the equivalent of Cardi and Nap's computer combined.
Cardi has a bad computer?
This is like one of those Geico commercials where you say Cardi has a bad computer, and then we show his 2005 Dell computer. Speaking of bad computers, I think Davis is frozen. Yep, he's gone. That will do it for today's show. We will see you tomorrow. And we'll have Mr. Tuttle 05. We'll also have Evan Silva on the show and that Davis guy. So until then, we'll see you. Thanks to our guest today, Insiders TV, sponsored by FantasyElite. We out.
Peace.
Regulators. We regulate any stealing of his property. We're damn good, too. But you can't be any geek off the street.
Nah, I can't be any geek off the street, Davis
This
Maddox.
is such a good song.
Davis Maddox.
Regulators! My brother said in my best man speech in June, he's just gonna say the lyrics to this song.
Maybe one day I can say there might be even a video of my best man that did his best man speech. It was not a best man speech. It was a roast. Like it was like he was on Comedy Central, and there were people like wincing all over because he was definitely getting
like it was too much.
Oh man. Talked about he basically talked about me having a drinking problem, me being gay because I coached high school girls basketball at the time. He made a comment about that. Like it was all sorts of uncomfortable.
So is this all Ben or nah?
No, this is not Ben. This is our other buddy Jeff. So yeah, that'll do it. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.
I'm gonna go set baseball.